Hi there, and welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today we are going to make a banana caramel steel oats. This is such an easy recipe to throw together. It only takes 10 minutes of low pressure cooking and it tastes absolutely delicious. So the first thing I'm going to do is add in 1.5 cups of water to the inner pot of the Ninja Foodi. And then we're going to add in our steel oats. Now this is 1 cup of steel oats. I'm going to put those in. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. This is sea salt. Put that in. Now I have 2 bananas here. Now I've tested this recipe a couple of times and I've used anywhere from really ripe bananas, like these are getting there, pretty ripe. And I've also used fresh bananas. Either work perfectly. So don't worry, if you have bananas to use up, this is a really easy way to do that. The riper the banana, the more flavor it gives. But I did like using the fresh bananas as well. You can see these are very soft, but that's not going to cause any problems at all in this recipe. So basically, I'm just going to chop them up into slices, probably about 1/2 inch thick, and throw them in. This is one of my favorite breakfasts, and believe it or not, until I tested the recipe, I had never had steel oats. I'm not even a real fan of oatmeal, but I really prefer the steel oats now that I've given those a try. They're just a little bit chewier of a texture than oatmeal, and I really enjoy them. So if you haven't tried steel oats, give this recipe a try. Or you could certainly use regular oatmeal too, if you wanted to. And I'll give the instructions for that in just a minute. Let you know the cooking times if you decide to do this recipe with regular oatmeal. So let me get that off. These are really soft bananas, but that's gonna add a ton of flavor. Okay, let's see, last one. All right, so that's the banana part. Now we have to make the caramel, which is all we're gonna use for that is 1/4 cup of butter and 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So I'm just gonna put that into this 6-inch Fat Daddy-O pan. Push it down in there, that's perfect. Cover it with foil. And I like to cover this and really try to seal it around. I wanna prevent water from getting in there. All right, that's great. So I'm just gonna give this just a little stir around. And then put the rack that came with the Ninja Foodi on the high position. Just put it right in there. This is a 6-inch. Now an 8-inch won't work this way, but you could turn the rack upside down and use an 8-inch pan if you prefer. I just wanted it to kind of sit up a little bit. I didn't want the bottom of this to get into the steel oats as they cook, because they will expand some. All right, so we'll put the pressure lid on. And one thing, let me just back up a minute. What you want to do is make sure that your pan, your 6-inch pan, is kind of over this way to the front of the Ninja Foodi and not to the back, because you don't want it to impede the process of coming under pressure. So I just usually pull it up like that. And then the lid fits on perfectly fine. We're going to make sure that the black valve is on seal. Turn the Ninja Foodi on. Pressure. Now we're going to take this to low pressure. Okay, we don't often cook with low pressure, but with regular oatmeal and steel oats, I like to do it on low pressure. And we're gonna set the time for 10 minutes and hit start. And that's it. So it'll take the pot a couple of minutes to come up to pressure, maybe 5 to 8 minutes. And then we will pressure cook on low for 10 minutes. And we'll do a natural release of 7 minutes. And then we'll stir in that caramel and we will eat some steel oats with banana and caramel. We just have a few more seconds before we release the rest of the pressure for the steel oats. And I just wanted to go over a little bit of the differences between oatmeal and the steel oats. So you can see that the oatmeal is a flatter oat. It's a little more processed than the steel oats. They absorb a little bit more water. So if you want to make this recipe with old-fashioned oatmeal, you would use 2 cups of water to 1 cup of oats. Pressure cook on low for 5 minutes and do an immediate release. If you haven't tried steel oats though, give them a try. They are absolutely fantastic. Okay, let's release our pressure. All right, the red button to press so we can open up the lid. Always do that away from you because there is quite a bit of steam that is released when you open that lid. All right, now I just like to let it cool down just a minute before I reach in there. So I'm gonna use my little protective gloves and I'm just gonna pull out our butter and brown sugar, which is gonna make our caramel. And then we will pull out our rack. Set that over to the side. Remove the tin foil. And if there's any water accumulated on the top, just try not to get it into your brown sugar and butter mixture. All right, so, oh my gosh, that smells amazing. Okay, so I'm just gonna whisk this up a little bit just to combine that brown sugar with the butter a little bit more. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to try this. It smells so good. All right, so once all of that is incorporated, so most of the butter has now been incorporated with the brown sugar and it's a smooth little caramel sauce. I mean, it's not a traditional caramel, but it works in this recipe perfectly. And it's so easy. That's what I love about this. It is so easy. All right, so now I'm just gonna pour this in. Now you could do this a couple different ways. I mean, you could drizzle it on top if you like, but I find just mixing it in gives the best flavor. So I'm just gonna pour that in. And then just give this a stir. Oh, wow. Oh, this looks so good. Oh, yummy. All right, that looks perfect. So let's dish them up. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now what I like to do is just add a little bit of cream. You don't need any sweeteners or anything. This is gonna be plenty sweet enough. In fact, it would be perfect as a dessert as well because it is a sweet recipe for sure. So I just add about a tablespoon of cream on top. I love the way that that kind of cools it down and it just adds another dimension of flavor. And then we will give it a taste. It looks like it's perfectly cooked. Now the steel oats, when they are perfectly cooked, they are creamy, but they have just a little bit of bite to them. So they're just a little bit chewy. Not hard or anything, but a little bit chewy. All right, here we go. The smell is absolutely amazing. Like you can just smell the brown sugar, you can smell the bananas. It is, oh, wonderful. Oh my goodness. This is such a treat. It is so delicious, creamy, yet it's not mushy because you get that little bit of the bite from the steel oats. Man, this is absolutely fantastic. The banana flavor comes through perfectly. Now, if you had a banana that was a little bit firmer and you wanted to put some slices on top, that would be great. Unfortunately, you saw mine were pretty ripe, so they were really soft. That wouldn't add anything, but I think a nice firm banana that's just perfectly ripe would really add another dimension to this delicious dish. I think this is one of my favorite things in the world to eat. I just absolutely love it. So good. So, truth be told, I've never been a fan of oatmeal. My husband loves it. But since I got the Ninja Foodi, I've made oatmeal several times, regular old-fashioned oatmeal. And it's been really good. I have a recipe on my website for a cinnamon apple baked oatmeal, and I will link to that below in the description. I don't have a video on it, but it's super easy to do. Follows the same principles, just a little bit different of timing and different ingredients, obviously. But the steel oats, they're hands down my favorite type of oat.